We're bi-coastal, baby! There are count 'em, two Hack City comedy shows happening in September. First, Fumi will be hosting Hack City LA, happening September 8th, 8 p.m. at Ziggy Hotel in West Hollywood. It'll be a blast. Then September 9th, there's a Hack City New York, 7:30 p.m. at Union Hall in Brooklyn, hosted by Jenny and yours truly. Again, that's two shows on two coasts, Hack City LA September 8th, Hack City New York September 9th. Tickets are available for both in the episode description or visit AsianNotAsianPod.com. See you there.
I'm like sometimes jealous of like what is it that about me that I'm like I need to do comedy to feel alive.
Right, to do all this stuff.
I'm like I wish I could just do the easy thing, which is like just really be focused on making money and buy a nice house, because that almost feels like aligned with the systems in place. So it's like that sounds great if that's what actually made me happy. But unfortunately, doing a 9:30 p.m. improv show sometimes is the thing that makes me the happiest in the world.
Okay, everybody, welcome to a very special, very quiet Asian Not Asian podcast. Okay, there is a couple things you might notice. A, I am speaking at a very low, hushed tone.
Very calming.
Very calming tone. Second, if you're on YouTube, you'll notice there is no video on here. And basically what this comes down to is I am taking care of my son right now while my wife and her very good friend who's visiting us, they're going to get their nails done. Now, don't come at my wife saying that she's not a good mom. She's a very excellent mom. She needs some time. Okay, and I thought I could handle this. Clearly not.
I've been here for about 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
And let's just say your son has been screaming his head off. And I've been kind of watching Mike scurry room to room, putting things in his mouth, out of his mouth, in his hands, out of his hands, strapping him to his body. And it's been just quite a scene over here.
It's an adventure. Yeah. So my working hypothesis is that he is very hungry, and but he is confused about why this Asian woman, who's Jenny, is not feeding him. And he is, so my baby's a little racist baby.
Yes.
And so now what I've done is I need to calm him down so he will take the bottle. But for him to be calmed down, he has to be in the other room in his bassinet. So he's right now in his bassinet, and we're using this moment right now to record the Asian Not Asian podcast. Jenny, hit him with the tagline.
Oh my gosh, that's how you're gonna set me up. Welcome to Asian Not Asian, a podcast where two Asian friends hang out with a tiny little Asian baby.
Perfect. I am your host, Mike Nguyen.
And I'm Jenny Arimoto.
And we will try to speak a little bit louder.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming and listening to the show. We're going to do a little kind of a little fun, mini episode here, just because, there's a couple things you and I, we just wanted to like just hang out and talk about, just as Asian friends do. We're not going to do Patreon shout out, but please, if you love the podcast, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/AsianNotAsianPod. You can get all sorts of fun little perks. We had a little Asian Patreon hangout the other week. That was a lot of fun, and we'll be doing that, and you'll get DM slides and things like that. So check that out. AsianNotAsianPod is the Patreon. And we're just going to jump right in. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay.
So, Mike, what kind of Asian were you this week?
I was a bad father Asian. Culminating in this, you cannot see because there is no video, but I am currently recording by standing up. I have a very long extension cord. I'm going to stick my head into my room here. Hold on here. My baby is what I would call angrily asleep. He's asleep, but he is not happy about it.
And once again, I relate. I relate to your baby so much. While he was crying, I was like, that was me last week when I had my little breakdown.
When you were watching...
And watching Everything Everywhere.
Yeah. That's
for the third time. Absolutely sobbing my head off.
You know what? That's what I did. I accidentally had him watch that movie.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh my God, I'm 5 months old, but I relate hard.
Yeah. To this show. The intergenerational trauma.
I'm passing it on.
Exactly.
So, yeah. White people, they got intergenerational wealth. We got intergenerational trauma.
Absolutely.
So I was, he's waking up now. Now he's upset.
He heard the joke about the intergenerational trauma.
He heard the joke about that, and he's like, "Oh, not funny, Dad." So I think I had. We'll talk about this more, but I had COVID. over the last couple weeks. I gave it to my son, which sucked. And he had symptoms for like 2 nights basically, and it was just like a super trooper. But he tested positive for like 15 days.
Yeah, oh, that's wild.
So we kept testing him like every 3 days or whatever. And then this like last week, we tested him basically every day. I'd like wake up, and that was a whole other thing. Like, because we didn't want mom to get sick, so she was in another room, which sucked because, like, you know, obviously we all like to sleep in the same room. He sleeps in the bassinet, but you know, it was me and him in the room alone. So it was like every night was like bro sleepover night.
Right.
Yeah. It's just me and him, and just broing out
talking about like protein powders. Lifting. Yeah.
He you know, he doesn't have a very good posterior chain yet because he is a baby, but we do that and we talk about that. So it was kind of fun hanging out there. But you know, hey, I can't take care of him as well as his mom because I do not lactate and I do not have that ability. Unfortunately. So not yet. So yeah, we'd be hanging out, and then every morning I'd like COVID test him, and he's been positive for like so fucking long. Finally, starting two nights ago, like literally day 14 or 15 for him, he was negative. So awesome. Then we can all hang out again as a big family, and it's been nice. He honestly sleeps better when all of us are in the room.
Yeah.
I think he's just like, okay, my squad is here. Yeah.
I'm keeping track of my whole like crew.
My crew, where's my crew at? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What is that? Was that? I guess it's called a squad. I was like, what do you call when you roll deep?
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I roll deep. I roll with my mom. I roll with my dad. That's it. End of list.
That's it. So he rolls pretty deep, 3 deep, and yeah. So now that he's got all of us in the club together, he is sleeping better, and it's good. So, but you know, again, it's been harrowing as just like me and him alone because I've got to hang out with him all the time and do all this stuff.
Yeah,
it's been awesome, but I just got a little taste of being like a single father.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, please never divorce me, Gina.
Oh yeah.
Okay. She will, you know, I would just, I will raise a feral child. I'll just release him into the backyard and just be like, okay, come back in 6 hours.
I just watched Mad Max, the original one, or the second one though.
Oh, okay. The Thunderdome or whatever?
No, that's the third one. The one before that, Fury Road. No, wait, that's the new one.
The new one.
No, I'm talking about the Mel Gibson one.
Yeah.
But they have the feral child in it. That would be your son. If he were alone.
That's my son. He
kind of just barks and like throws a boomerang and kills people.
I am weighing what kind of combat skills I need to be able to pass on to my son. Nunchucks, or am I thinking throwing implements?
Yeah.
All right. So anyways, that was me, and it's nice to have the whole family together.
Yeah.
Bad father, me.
Okay.
How about you, Jenny? What kind of Asian were you this week?
I was a bubble bursted Asian.
Bubble bursted Asian.
My friend, my very good friend who might be listening to this because I am forcing her to listen to this podcast now.
That's nice.
She visited me last minute. She's a high school friend of mine. And last night we had a very fun, like long dinner and we like just caught up on life. And we were talking about people and like that we know. Yep. And so many people are getting married and having babies. And think I forgot that people do that at my age.
At the because we live in a bubble.
Yes, because I'm not only am I doing comedy, I'm doing comedy in New York. Like that is such a specific little niche community to be in.
Yeah.
And here people don't have children in your early 30s. No, you have it like later in your 30s. Like that's a normal thing.
Yeah, and especially I think as a comedian, like it's been nice, obviously, having my son here. But one thing that's really interesting is I'm obviously not the only comedian with a kid.
Right.
But like, I think I'm one of the first in my quote unquote class of comedians to have because I'm older than most people in my class of comedians. So it's like they go, oh man, how's that going? This is crazy. What's it like? You know? So like, I'm like the first one to kind of step into that. When I was hanging out at your birthday too, I was talking to a bunch of your friends. Yeah. And I was like, man, these little kids, they don't know anything. But then I would talk to them and then I realized these assholes are 32.
Oh yeah, these friends are firmly in their 30s.
Yeah, but like you look in their eyes and their clothes.
Yeah.
They just look like they're just wet around the ears.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just like.
But weren't you like that at 32 as well?
I think I definitely was a little bit. I was a little bit more. You know, I had a regular job.
Yeah.
So I had that, but I definitely was a mess as far as like if I went to sleep before 1:30 in the morning, even on a weeknight,
you had like a chill chill night.
That's healthy.
Yeah.
Hashtag healthy. That was when hashtags were big.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's not like you said that. You were saying it to call back to that era, not because you actually believe in hashtags.
No, hashtags suck. But yeah, so so like hanging out there's definitely a bubble. Let's just say. Yeah.
I think like I forget that. And I hear about like my friends having babies, buying houses, thinking about having their second child, like dealing with motherhood at this age. And I really had this moment where I was like, I forget that like my lifestyle is nowhere close to the norm for most people. Yeah. And
even for New Yorkers,
my life.
Yeah.
It's not normal.
Well, just because I think
being in comedy.
Yeah, being in comedy is like even a subset of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's the fact that I like will leave to go to a 9:30 p.m. show on a weeknight. That's weird. That's not
crazy.
in a normal life.
That's crazy. But isn't that also like kind of what's exciting about, because in most other places in the world or even America, I guess like 9:30, 10, either you're already out, you're doing things, but like here. You might not leave the house until like 11 or something.
I can't do that.
That's too late.
Don't invite me to that.
Do not.
I won't show up. But yes, I think I was like this moment where I was like, that's right. My life is different. And I often forget it because I'm surrounded by people who do live this life. And then I start thinking, okay, I'm behind. The classic, like, I'm behind.
Yep.
I need to, not that I'm ready to live in the suburbs and have a family. Sure. But there are some things where I was like, oh God, I got to get my life together. Even though my life is pretty put together. Like, yeah. I don't know. I feel this suddenly like, oh, people are hitting benchmarks, which once again are made up. But I'm like, people are hitting benchmarks. I'm not hitting benchmarks.
Yeah.
Like the achievement oriented side of me is like, I'm behind. I'm not doing it.
Yes.
But then, my friend, she's also single and not married. Yeah. And like has no plan on like settling down in any specific place for long term because she's also wants to still like live in different places and have those dreams. And I think we were talking about, I think it's okay if there's one thing we've learned in the past couple of years, life is short.
Sure.
You should do whatever you want to be happy because like you never know what's going to happen. Yeah. And I think oftentimes we're taught that like happiness is buying a house and making a lot of money and having kids and like getting them into good schools and like whatever. And I think whatever, life is short. If you want to live in Europe, go live in Europe.
So do you ever feel like you look at your friends and is there something that I would quote unquote conventional friends? Yeah. If you ever look at something they have and you're like, oh, that is tight. I wish I had that. I
mean, yeah, of course. Like sometimes I'm like, well, it is nice to be so settled and like have this path. I'm jealous of that. Yeah. I'm like sometimes jealous of like, what is it about me that I'm like, I need to do comedy to feel alive.
Right. To do all this stuff.
I'm like, I wish I could just do the easy thing, which is like, just really be focused on making money and buy a nice house. Cause that almost feels like aligned with the systems in place. So it's like, that sounds great if that's what actually made me happy. But unfortunately doing a 9:30 p.m. improv show sometimes is the thing that makes me the happiest in the world.
But you ever, I've got to think that, the line between an unconventional life and a conventional one is like pretty arbitrary.
It is.
Because I often think that, those people who I think of as being like, oh, they got the suburb life and they're doing all these things. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what their anxieties are. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they wish they were over on this side of the river,
I'm sure they
whatever,
do.
Right? Yeah.
They see me like running around doing whatever I want to, like at 9:30 p.m. On a Wednesday. Yeah. And I'm sure there's some jealousy there. And just like I'm sometimes jealous of their lives because it feels so structured and like it fits the norms of like what people expect. Yeah. But I was just thinking, so yeah, of course there's sometimes jealousy, but I was just thinking how much of your life is dictated by what you see because our friend who we were talking about who lives this life, all of her friends from college all are married with kids.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
We're all
Yep.
the same age.
Yep.
And then I look at my life and all my friends are like living in the city doing arts,
Yep.
single and like trying to pay rent.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, it's so much like of what we want is also colored in by what we see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm sure if all of my friends were married with kids, that would be what I would think that I want.
Right. You end up just kind of like being who you surround yourself with.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you were of all your friends, but that's what I think, like, because we went to a certain college and like all those people became a certain kind of person, like young professional type people. But if you were like to surround yourself with, surfers, you become like in the surfing community or whatever.
Right.
I don't know if you can hear my son. He's upset now. But yeah, I think he's like, Dad, why don't you settle down and work on that 401k? So it sounds like, though, I mean, you're not, I've known you a little while.
Yeah.
And of the several weeks I have known you,
Yeah.
many of them you come in, you go, I'm spiraling. Many of them you come in,
which is an interesting that it seems like that's not a normal conversation you and Fumi would have, which is an interesting twist.
Fumi's thing is his spiraling is, I'm going to work even harder.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the way he kind of copes with it. Which is totally got its drawbacks and pluses, but that's his way of coping.
Yeah.
Whereas I think you and me, we just let ourselves sink into the quagmire.
Totally. And then talk about it a lot.
Talk about it.
And like think
content.
about it.
Exactly. But to go back to, this thing, you were hanging out with your friend, you were sort of exposed to what I would call some triggering things potentially.
Yeah.
As far as like people who have another, lifestyle.
Right.
And I could see that causing a spiral, but it doesn't sound like you're spiraling.
No, I don't feel as much of a spiral. I think like last week I full on had a spiral.
Yeah.
But this week I'm feeling more like settled in my life, but I'm noting these things, right? Like I'm like, oh, people are moving forward in their lives. Okay, I don't like that phrasing either because it makes it seem like forward is to have a family.
Yeah.
Like they are doing quote unquote adult things.
Yes.
And so I'm like noting it and I'm like, okay, people are doing it now. And so I know that there is like, I don't know, if I want to do that stuff, I also have like I have to start getting on it and prioritizing it. So I think about that all the time.
Totally.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily bad. It's just like thinking about how much our environment changes us. And the other piece is this friend is very Catholic.
That's another thing we were going to talk about today. Yeah.
She's like incredibly Catholic. And I think living in Brooklyn doing comedy, I'm like, wait, people can be really religious in 2022. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so talking about that, like her Catholicism has become more intense in her adult years, which has been interesting. And I am not religious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Japanese. Whenever people say, are you religious? I'm like, I'm Japanese.
I'm Japanese. Excuse me. I'm from Japan.
But, my parents are like pretty non-religious.
Sure.
Like it's more baked into our practices in terms of like culture.
Yeah.
But not so much like any sort of devout way of going to a
That's such an interesting point, because I feel like there are certain, like let's say Korean people, when they're Christian, they're really Christian.
Yes, there are a lot of people who are Korean and Christian.
And I'm Catholic.
Right.
And when I was in school, and there's a Catholic church near the campus in Berkeley called Newman.
I literally don't know at all, because that's how like non-religious I am.
Totally. It's a beautiful church, and it was very like the people, it's a Jesuit order, and Jesuit people are known.
I went to Jesuit high school.
Yeah, they're problematic, of course, but they have a bent of being very sort of social justice. Weirdly enough,
and education
forward. Yes, exactly. So, anyways, it was a great church, but inside of it, there was a Korean specific group inside of the Catholic church. They had their own thing too.
I didn't know there were Koreans who were Catholic.
I know, but here we are. So like, there's something I think about Korean social structure is
Yeah.
even in America that kind of like lends itself to that. And I think to a certain degree, like the Vietnamese version of Catholicism too, like there's a lot of Vietnamese people who are Catholic. That's why I'm Catholic.
Yeah.
There's like a Vietnamese flavor of Catholicism, just as there's a Korean flavor.
Yeah.
And then like, back to your point, there's not really like a, Japanese Catholic thing.
No,
Japanese Christian thing.
Famously, there's like, it was very, I think Japanese people are very averse to Christianity and in general, like anything to structure, like religion.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't like it.
Yeah.
So like my parents are also very, not anti, but like don't really have interest in any sort of like Christian religion. My mom reads the Bible as a book, like an interesting
like for
story.
funsies?
She always says it's an interesting story. Like it's like a well-written book, but to
Wow.
like, so because my mom's very smart and like is loves books.
Yeah.
And so she's like very knowledgeable and she like read the whole thing. Also I went to Catholic school, so I think that's part of it. She was like, oh, let me just like read it.
Yeah.
Which I had no interest in. I was like, good for you. No, thank you. But I remember when my sister and I both went to Berkeley, and my sister's like roommate was in the really intense Christian group on campus.
Sure.
And obviously my sister, like me, are not religious. Sure. Right. And freshman year, she got convinced to like go to some of the
here you go. Yep.
events.
Yeah. Oh,
and they're
no.
like, that's like part of it is people like religion is it's a community, which I get. That thing that's totally valid. And so she like started going to these meetings, and they like start trying to get you to like come to like Bible study,
Hey,
and then they
check this
like
out.
you should do this thing, and like
Yeah.
so she was like going to more and more events, and the fear in my parents
Ooh.
of like, oh my god, she might be converted into Christianity
Oh, man.
was so funny, because I'm watching, I'm like, most other families are like praying that
it's
their
good
kids will be Christian.
Yeah, we'll be, find a good group of people.
Yeah, exactly. And then for my parents, it was like, oh my God, she's hanging out with a bunch of Christians. What if they try to make her Christian? I was like, oh my God, this is so funny. Like, what a Japanese outlook on like Christianity and religion.
I would suggest maybe if she's interested in doing that but doesn't want to be too Christian, be Catholic. That's that's us. Jim Gaffigan has this hilarious joke about, because he's Catholic, and he jokes about like kind of how a lot of Catholic people aren't that Catholic. Like if you meet like he has a joke where it's like, that guy's really Catholic, he's Shiite Catholic, you know. It's like even the Pope isn't that Catholic. It's like the Pope will be like, hey, let's not talk about work, but that's it is for me. When I grew up as a my mom didn't get us into Catholicism until my grandfather had like kind of like a close call. Yeah. And so she was like, okay, now we got to go to church because I made a deal with God. So we're like, oh man, why do we got to pay for this? So, and so we would go and like, I was like very old to do all the different rites. So I didn't get like first communion until I was like 14 or 15 or something like that. And like confession until I was like, 14 or 15. But I found it to be like a very beautiful religion. There's a lot of like beautiful things about it. There's a lot of like, obviously history. It's kind of crazy because it's like an institution that goes back how many millennia.
Right.
When I was in college, I thought about being a priest. I thought I straight up, they always say, oh, you hear a calling. And
that's wild.
I straight up thought I had a calling. Like
Wait,
I straight up
what
thought.
Happened? What made you feel like it was a call from inside the house?
It literally felt, maybe I was having a psychotic breakdown, but I didn't have a audible thing in my ear, but I felt like somebody there was something that was saying, there's another way and I need you to do this other thing. In like it felt very nice, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I don't know if this is God asking me to do something.
Right.
And then I thought, I looked into like being a priest, and like it's very intense, like, and,
of course,
you basically become like a doctorate in this thing. And then I was thinking about it some more, and I think I came to the conclusion that maybe what I really needed to do was just break up with my girlfriend. This is just a way out. Like I just should have just told her instead. I'm like, no, God told me we can't be together.
Wait, did you actually use that line to break up?
No, but I did talk to her about it. But
oh my God.
But it was like a very interesting feeling, to like feel this thing that I felt was like outside of me or bigger than me, and like asking me to do something, which was kind of cool. Obviously I didn't become a priest, but you know, I think the religion is still awesome. I will go to mass sometimes.
Yeah.
Usually with my mom. there's a church, Catholic church right near where I live, and it's cool to sit there and do the thing. But then like 1 out of every 10 times, and this is more in the church where I live, in the church, my local church in Orange County where I grew up. There's a lot of like now like priests of color, because the Catholic Church here in America has a hard time recruiting new priests from like white people.
Yeah.
So they get like priests. There's like mad Vietnamese priests, and there's like tons of priests. From different parts of the world. And they bring them here.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times you go to a Catholic church, the priest will be like the only person of color in the whole fucking church.
Oh, really?
It's so interesting. So they're
international?
Yeah, they're straight up like, I'm from Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
Learning, you know what I'm saying? I'm Father Van, you know what I'm saying? So, but anyways, like 1 out of every 10 times I would go to mass, the priest or the deacon, which is like a kind of like a civilian priest, he's like an unordained priest or minister. He's like not part of the clergy. They'll say something which will make me want to get up and walk right out of the thing. Like one time, one of the priests he said something about like pharmacists shouldn't have to dispense Plan B, and I was like,
in church?
He said this, and I was like, you don't know what you're talking about, Father. And I wanted to walk out right then and there, and it's just like. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, like, I don't mean to make this like a statement, you know, like, because I think religion is a complex conversation. There are so many different types of religion. I think there are a lot of benefits to a lot of religions that like do have like, you know, moral lessons or moral learnings and whatever. But then what scares me is those statements.
Well, yeah, yes.
That's what scares me, when it's like, well, we've decided that morally Plan B is wrong.
Exactly.
And then that's when I'm like, well, and then the idea that you have to respect an institution that decides that is the answer. This is like
the way to go. Yeah,
exactly. So I think you can be religious and have your own set of, you know, you can disagree with whoever's in charge. Like, you know, with these older institutions that tend to be male and, you know, just really a little bit archaic in some of their views. But I think it's just fascinating that there are people that I've seen in my life become more and more religious as I've gotten older. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is like, I understand. It's like, it gives you structure. It gives you an immediate local community.
It gives you community. For sure.
It gives you something beyond yourself. Yes. To be a part of. And I think it's just like fascinating, because I am not in that. To like hear about it, I'm like, wow. Yeah. Like, you're going every Sunday, you're doing that. I guess it's like me being here every Saturday podcasting.
This is your church.
This is my church.
You know, this podcast is bigger than you and me.
It's bigger than
we have a community.
It's a community.
You know?
Yeah, it gives me, the community is the squad. It's your family is my community.
The squad. You know, I used to have this joke. I try to make it work. Maybe I'll try to make it work. But I always thought about like how people are so into astrology. You know, and I think because it allows you, it gives you a framework for understanding the world. Yes. And I would be like, well, if you're gonna believe in that, why not just be Catholic? You know, it's the same thing. Yeah. It's just like you believe in this thing that doesn't mean it came from the sky. Right. We got that. Yeah. Don't worry. You know, plus we have cool clothes, you know, like it's, anyway. So like
you're recruiting though. You're recruiting for the Catholic Church.
I got to connect with the new generation any way I can. You should
you should become like the Justin Bieber pastor with like the big glasses and like tight ripped jeans
and the cool sneakers.
Who's super problematic and like whatever. But you could be like the cool Catholic priest.
Yo, what's up, fam? You know what's lit? The Holy Spirit. You know? Hell yeah.
I know you've heard of Doja Cat, but have you heard of the Bible? I don't know anything specific about Catholicism.
You know, sinning? That's mad sus.
Sin is mid. That's mid. I love that mid is like an offensive thing to say. You know,
middling.
I think mid is like average.
And it's in
but
some
it's
ways,
like kind of in like an offensive way, like mid.
but it's like
just mid.
right? Like you're basic.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the way of saying basic.
Sinning is basic.
Yo, sinning's sus, dude.
Yeah.
You know, it's so mid.
So mid.
Oh my god. And I've lost every single Gen Z person.
Yeah.
They know when we're co-opting.
actively trying to lose Gen Z. I like
Oh my God.
I heard the last couple episodes and I was like, oh my God, I sound so millennial. We're losing
This
all
is
the young
extremely
listeners if
millennial.
there are any of them.
Listen, our demographic is geriatric millennials
Yeah.
like myself, or whatever it is my son is. Okay. I think he's the next, what is he? I don't
Alpha.
know. Alpha. He doesn't even have slang anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He doesn't even use human language.
Right.
Okay. That's the human language. That's mid.
Mid. Communicating like with words, mid.
Mid. Coherent thoughts, mid.
I think we're using mid
We're using-
accurately. We're using it right.
Are we?
No, I'm
Yes.
just kidding. I don't know.
Yes. When was the last time you gave your partner something truly memorable? Make them come to HelloTushy.com for their national 6-9-day sale. 6-9-day is Tushy's biggest sale of the year. Over at Labor Day weekend, Tushy is celebrating 6-9-day again, but reversed. Don't miss out on 30% off Tushy Classic Bidets when you buy 2 or more from September 2nd to September 6th for the reverse 6-9-day. When we say anyone can put this thing together, we mean even your parents. Hey, they figured out 69ing back in the 80s. I assume, so they can do this too. Hello Tushy 3.0 attaches to their existing toilet with no electricity, no extra plumbing, no tech support FaceTimes, and cuts toilet paper use by 80%. So the Hello Tushy bidet pays for itself in just a few months. Give the gift of a clean butt. From September 2nd to September 6th, go to hellotushy.com/ANA and enter promo code 96 to get 30% off. That's hellotushy.com/ANA. That's hellotushy.com/ANA. Now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. I want to know what you all do to take care of your mind. Do you read? Do you just chill? Do you go on long walks? I got one friend, he just dances in public. That's like his thing. And that's his form of self-care. Hey, whatever works for you. I think these last few years, we've become more and more aware of how important self-care, how important therapy can be. I've done a bunch of different forms of therapy. I've done in-person therapy. I've done CBT. I've done text-based therapy. I even had a few sessions with some coaches. And I'll tell you, they definitely helped me work through a lot of different things. But maybe you don't have time or the ability to go meet someone in person. What's cool about BetterHelp is it's online therapy. So you can do video, phone, or chat-only therapy. It's more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in 48 hours. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Asian. That's betterhelp.com/Asian. You know who's not mid? My son.
Bars. Bars.
That's the best thing. Sometimes I say that to people. I'm like,
Bars.
Yo, bars.
This better make it into the final cut.
It's 100% sticking.
Okay, good.
Patrick, do not cut
Don't
out a
cut.
single. Anytime we say something cringy, keep that
Don't
fucking
cut it
shit in,
out.
okay?
Oh God. Oh yeah. So we have a funny story.
We have a fun story. So, again, Randall Park is basically our best friend now.
Yes.
So he was on the podcast, maybe a month ago now.
Yeah.
A little more than that. One quick sort of aside is afterwards, we're like, hey, I had to stay in the city because I was awake meeting my wife. And I was like, hey, Randall, what are you doing now? And he's like, oh, I'm just hanging out. And, it turns out he's like into shopping. Mm-hmm. So he's like, oh, yeah, I've been wanting to check out some stores in Soho. Boom. We end up going shopping with Randall Park.
Yeah.
And showed him some stores, took him to the Nike store on Mercer, and took him to Not Flight Club, Stadium Goods, the sneaker thing, which was eye-opening for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I was wearing like my Nordstrom Rack dress with my Dansko clogs.
Yep. Dansko.
And we were walking around Soho and I was like, what is this? Like so many cool stores I've never heard of.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff.
And Randall is so nice
He's
that
super
he
nice.
would, when we were walking around these nice stores where I like clearly am not shopping, he like turns around and he's like, "Are you uncomfortable, Jenny? Are you okay?" I was like, "I'm okay." He's like, "This is probably all foreign to you, huh?" I was like, "Yeah." Like he would like check in on me, just like the greatest.
Yeah, he's super nice. We went to Acne, like looked at some stuff. I wanted him to pull out the fucking black card Amex,
Yeah.
drop some cash, but he was just looking. But fast forward a little bit, we're like we want to have dinner. He was in town for a little while filming a movie, so we're like, okay, so we had to find the weekend that would work for us, and then we found this thing, and then we got this really cool place. I think it's called Juku, Juku, and it's like it's actually a bunch of things. There's there's an izakaya restaurant in it. There's also a fancy sushi thing, and then there's also a bar. So we're gonna go there, and we booked that, and then why don't you we touched on this before, but then he then texts us a little while later and he's like, "Hey, you guys in
Yeah.
SAG?"
Yeah. Out of nowhere, he goes, "Are you guys SAG?" And we both are like, no. Like I've never felt like I've disappointed someone more than that. And then on the side, after he sent that text, we went, "Did we just really disappoint?"
We just fuck up our shit?
We really were like, "Did we just lose the biggest opportunity
Hugest
of a lifetime
opportunity
because we're not
ever?"
SAG?"
Yeah.
And then he made that joke.
Yeah.
He said, "It's okay. We'll Hartley Taft you or something." Do you remember? And both of us
yeah.
were like, we so aren't in the industry that we have no idea what this reference is.
What are you talking about at all? I thought he was referencing some like 1910 law about like the way that the railroads are supposed to cross.
Yeah, and
the
we're
state.
like, ha 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 ha, on the text, like trying to make him like us. But the next day, we get a text where he basically invited us to be featured extras in his movie.
Featured extras.
In what he said was a very pivotal scene.
Yes.
Where we would be like a couple at a market.
Yeah.
And I think I touched on this like a couple episodes ago where I was like, when the text came, I was high.
Yes. That's right.
And so I was like, just like panicking.
And I was like frantically texting you
Yes.
also like back channel style,
Yes.
making you more anxious.
Yeah, you were like, "Come on, what are you
going
gonna
on?
do?
What's going on? What's
Do you
going
want to do it?
Get
I think
sober."
we should do it." And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's do it. Okay, so that day actually that we talked about it on the podcast, we spent all day together. Remember, we like did 2 episodes here. I ate brunch with you and Gina.
Yes.
And then it was my birthday party. So then you came by.
So I saw that. Yeah, that was fun.
We were hanging out. Well, someone started feeling a little ill right afterwards.
I felt ill starting on Sunday, and I was like, "Oh, my throat's all weird," but maybe it was because I was yelling so much, talking about watches with Brian Park, and then I felt the same on Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday we're supposed to go in and get a COVID test,
PCR for the movie.
So they call us into the little production office, which by the way, I went in there and it was like so. When Randall mentioned that it was like feels like a startup, I was like, "Oh, okay, No, it really did.
Yeah, it really
was just
did.
like a bunch of 25-year-old white dudes
Yes.
sitting around a table.
When I was there, they were talking about investing via Robinhood. And I was like, okay, this is like worse than working in
That's
tech.
insane. There was like, so we go in there and, get the PCR test, and your boy got COVID.
Yes.
So I couldn't do the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile.
Well,
I also went in to test,
You
but
went
you
separately.
texted
Yeah.
me before I think I went in, or maybe on my way, and you're like, "Heads up, I might have COVID."
Yes, that's right.
And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And I was like on my way to get my PCR test.
Yeah.
And so I did it full well being like, I just spent all
day.
of Saturday
and
with Mike in a room
literally
with the door closed.
Yeah, coughing into each other's mouths.
And I looked back on the footage.
We're so close together.
But also you did a lot of this throughout the whole recording. And I was like, I was watching and I was like, oh my God. There was just COVID everywhere in that room.
It's everywhere.
Well, surprise. I had no COVID.
Didn't you have COVID?
I did not
PCR
have
test was
COVID.
negative. Nice.
PCR was negative. And the joy I felt.
Amazing.
And I was like, if there was one birthday thing that came true for me, it was I didn't get COVID that
That's
week.
great. Fantastic.
And so I got to get to the movie and I got to be in it and
You got to
hang
be in
out,
it.
which was so cool.
Fuck you.
And so I don't know how many details I'm allowed to talk about. I won't talk about the cast because I don't think it was announced.
No.
But I've never ever
You never
been
been
on
on
a
set.
and
on
I've
set.
never ever done background work.
And this is like a real set too.
Yes. So I'm like a newbie, right? And so first of all, my role was well-dressed Asian woman.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, thank you. And they also don't dress you. And so the costume people like reached out to us and said, we would like you guys to wear something like this.
Okay.
And so I wore like this new romper that I bought for my birthday.
Cute.
Really cute floral. Because that's supposed to be like, it's a scene where I'm at a market, outdoor market.
Yeah.
And walked up, dressed up in my little cute jumpsuit to the studio where everything's happening, right? Like crews moving things around. I like saw into the open studio and I saw like a set and I was like, whoa. That's so cool. I don't know what's going on. So I have my headphones in, someone walks by and says something and I heard, hey, Jenny, this woman I don't know. And I said, hey. And she looked at me and I was like, where do background actors go? And she's like, over there. Fully not talking to me, talking to someone behind me. It was so embarrassing. And I was like, okay, that's right. I'm an extra. No one cares about me.
No, we're trash. Yeah, we're expendable.
Exactly. And so I went to the back, immediately start texting Mike because I don't know what's going on.
I have COVID.
Yeah. Mike has COVID, is at home. And you were also like, text me what's happening.
Yeah.
And so I'm like live texting.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wish you were here because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about extra or like background work is the hodgepodge of people
totally
are fascinating.
Dude, just alone when I was getting my PCR test, I was texting you this. I was like, this is the most like slice of life New York artists, you know what I'm saying? Like all the different people, there was people there who were clearly trying to be actors and they were like, oh, I'm gonna do this background thing, but then I also have to run and I gotta do this play. And there was a dude there who was just like an old Jewish guy who just had some free time, and then there was like a lady, like a Dominican lady who was there, and you know, she's doing this because her son asked her to do it. And it's just like a complete cross section of New York City.
Totally. I mean, I went back there and there was just one jolly larger white man with like a ponytail.
Hell yeah.
And he was just monologuing, like performing at the room for the whole time we were back there. Mm-hmm. And he made like a joke about monkeypox, and I was like sitting there like, oh my God. And I was initially sitting near him. And then I moved. Oh, wow. Because I was getting anxious listening to him. And so I was pretending like I needed to charge my phone and move towards the outlet. Just to get away from him.
Oh my God.
Wait, so is this really like
is this like
a holding room, like we're in the back?
Okay.
Because they were doing multiple scenes that day. So it's like, and I was so confused because like I felt like we were invited by Randall. So I think we were like in a different kind of like place where we were only going to do one scene, but most people were doing 2 to 3 scenes, like different locations, and like they brought different outfits for different scenes, etc. So I was like fully kind of like, I don't think they know that we were invited by Randall. Like I literally sitting there, I was like, I don't know anything. And the funniest thing that happened is someone says Jenny, and I was like, yeah, that's me. I like check in. This guy next to me turns around and goes, Jenny. I go, hey, I have no idea who he is. He goes, it's me. And I was like, hey, do I know you? He's like, we work together. And I was like, no, this is my first time doing this. I don't really act that much. He goes, oh. And he stares at me and I go, this is so embarrassing, but I do comedy and sometimes it's online. Maybe that's how you know me. And then he said, no. And then he turned around and he stopped talking to me.
It?
That's it. And it was so awkward. And I was like, I will never, ever tell anyone I do comedy ever again.
Never.
And so I was so embarrassed. I didn't know what was going on. They like shuffle you around to get food. They like tell you these things. They like use words I've never heard of. Like that was your DMP 5 or whatever. I was like, what the fuck was that? And then they're like, if you haven't gotten your makeup done, I was like, I had to get my makeup done? I didn't know. So I go to the makeup chair and I run into Randall and it was a godsend. Cause at that point he like was so nice. He like hugs me and I was like, I've never been on set before. And he's like, I'm going to give you a tour. He gives me a full tour. He introduces, busy too. He's so big. He's a director.
He's the fucking director.
He introduces me to his like producing partner who ends up taking Mike's spot.
Yep. Also Vietnamese, right?
Also Vietnamese.
Shouts.
And went to UCLA and like talked to him for a really long time, like introduces me to like whatever, everybody. He gets me one of those director chairs.
I've always wanted one of those.
And I basically said, hey, this is so embarrassing, but because I've never been on set and because I've never seen this happen, would you mind if I sat in and watched you guys like
That's so
do
cool.
like some of this, like the scene that's being filmed now, because I'm not part of it. And Randall was like, yeah, let me just check with like COVID restrictions, but I'm pretty sure you'll be fine. And then he's like, yeah, of course. Gives me a seat next to like all the producing partners, near the big screen where he's directing. I get to just sit there and watch people act. I get to see like lighting, like whatever. Cool? And in between every take, he would come and check in on me. Goes like, isn't it crazy that like this is like most of movie making is just waiting. And like he was like, is everything okay? Do you need water? You need anything? I was just like, Randall Park keeps checking in on me, and it rules. And I got to meet the main actor, who's a very famous person.
That's awesome.
Because I once again went to Randall and said, I think I have a mutual friend with this guy.
Oh, no.
And then Randall said,
Mutuals.
have you not met him yet? And I was like, no. He's like, let me introduce you.
What?
He was the freaking best. Like, truly, I had the time of my life. Like, once like I got to hang out with all the powerful people.
You're just and
I'm like live texting Mike. I'm like, oh my God, I'm on set. Oh my God, I met this person. Oh my God, I'm doing this. And you're just like, oh man.
I'm texting her. I'm like, I'm having trouble breathing.
Yeah. You're like, that sounds cool, but this sucks.
I love that you went from just in the back with the monologuing ponytail guy, plucked out of obscurity.
I know.
Dropped right into the golden circle of production.
And it was suddenly like, she's Randall Park's friend.
Boom.
And then like all of a sudden I was like different level. All of his like business partners kept complimenting my jumpsuit. They're like, I love your outfit.
You're the best.
And then at the very end, so I do my scene, which truly I walk. Because honestly, Mike, whatever the role you would have had is much more important than the role I had.
God damn it.
I was just kind of like there, like I was important that I was there, but also not at all.
Right.
And so to be honest, I had very little to do. I just had to walk, and I was so nervous. I was like, I hope I'm walking normally.
Right. Yeah. That sounds so scary.
But at the end of the scene that I filmed, it was a wrap for the actress in it. It was a wrap for her in New York. So,
cool.
they do the thing where they like circle around. And like the cast and crew is like, and that's a wrap on blah, blah, blah in New York. Give them a round of applause. Everyone like is clapping and like, we'll see you in the Bay, because that's where they're filming next. And she was like, oh my God, thank you. Okay, so we do that, right? I'm like standing next to her and I'm like clapping. Everyone starts breaking apart, and then Randall looks at me and goes, and Jenny, that's like a wrap. But Jenny did such a great job. Yeah. And then his business partner wants to go, and with the perfect outfit, Jenny. And everyone's like, yeah. And I'm like, truly, I did nothing.
You're famous.
I walked around.
But that walking was sick.
But it was just so kind for him to do that. I left on a high that night.
That's amazing.
I was just like, I love doing comedy. It's all paying off. It's all coming together.
It's all happening. I'm on set.
Yeah, I literally was like on cloud 9 that day, and I like went home, and my friends were at my apartment like hanging out, and I like walked in and I was like, I had the greatest day of my life.
Meanwhile, I'm texting my God, what's happening now?
Yeah, and I'm just like sending you pictures of all the sets
You
and like the
literally
people.
are.
Yeah.
God.
And I really use my puppy dog energy.
You do have a good puppy dog energy, and
to get around,
running around, just saying, "Hi there, how's it going?"
Yeah,
blah, blah,
exactly.
blah.
I also pitched to the main guy. I said, "Would you ever have any interest on being on a podcast?"
You're such an I don't know how to say this word, ingenue, whatever.
Ingenue.
Oh, there we go. Yes, is that what the word is?
I think.
You're just pure-hearted.
Oh, okay. That's not what that means.
Simple-minded.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very simple. And we started talking, and then I was like, wait, actually, would you ever have an interest on being on the podcast? This guy's really famous.
Yeah.
It's like, would you ever have any interest in being on a podcast? He's like, do I have to make jokes? And I was like, no, just talk. He's like, okay. Yeah. He didn't seem that interested, but I sure pitched it to him.
You pitched it. I gotta send you in there, because you just don't know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know how famous he was until I left.
I love it. I love that you even just talked to him, let alone pitched him. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I had no shame at that point. I also didn't know I generally don't know the extent to people's fame, so I kind of just asked.
I mean, that's the sort of funny thing is that, like, when you don't know, they're just a regular person. Fame's not real. I mean,
exactly.
It is, but it isn't. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. It's not like this like quantifiable thing.
Right. Exactly.
So I just went into it being like a dude.
Yeah. You're just the dude. You seem cool. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Totally. So, he'll never do our show now.
No,
but,
he
won't. But I'm so glad you did. You got that experience, man.
I know, it was really, really fun.
It's cool to see like all the things happening. I mean, I was walking around with my son, who hates me now, but we were walking around like earlier this week, and I had him strapped onto me, and like I in New York City, you come across people filming stuff all the time. And I came across one. It wasn't really big, but it like had enough things. There was definitely like PAs and all the things there.
Yeah.
And I just sat and watched. And like, there's a director sitting in her chair and she's like watching like, things, and like they kept doing the same, like literally one line.
Yeah.
They messed up while I was watching them 7-8 times or whatever. Right. Until they got it perfect. And it's just like it's a cool experience to see everybody like work together to do this one little thing.
Yes.
Like Jenny's got to walk down the thing in her very cute romper, and that's it. And she has to pick a flower, and that's it. But you do it like for like half an hour.
I did longer than that.
Oh yeah,
it was so long because they have to get like multiple shots and like whatever. And I was like, wow, movie making really is a whole process. There are so many people behind this one shot.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
like just so many things went into like making it look like we're in a market in the Bay Area.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was awesome. I can't wait to watch the movie.
You did what I'm saying? What was your thing?
I was like an Asian in a relationship with an Asian guy, and then we're like shopping at a market.
Hey, CGI that.
Yeah, CGI.
Get ILM on that. We made this Asian guy look so lifelike. We modeled him after
a real Asian guy. A real authentic Asian person.
We modeled him after Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's
the CGI Asian guy I'm dating is hilarious.
Yeah, it's a Spider-Man, right? He's upside down.
Yeah.
But they put Randall's face on Spider-Man.
But so we're shopping, and then the guy like recognizes who he's with, or who the main character is with.
Yeah.
And it's like almost like a judgment because the main character is like in a relationship with a white woman.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But
once again, that's what I'm saying. Your role is the judgment. I'm just there.
I could have been so judgy.
Yeah.
Though, I mean, I remember you told me that that's the thing. I would have had to like, I guess, give a look. Mm-hmm. I've been so nervous. I would have been like, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to act.
It is crazy. Like it was like, because extras don't usually get notes from like the main director. I think they usually like other directors that
like
kind of give you notes. But then Randall would come up to us and be like, you need your look to be more like this.
Yeah.
Because it's like an important scene. It's like flip more like this, like keep it natural, blah blah. And I was like, wow, this was like an important, once again, not me, the guy role was like very important. Sorry, Mike.
No, it's okay. That was it.
Yeah.
That was my shot, and now I will just descend into obscurity now, which I'm okay with. It sounds super cool.
Yeah.
And
it was so fun.
One day we will have this big dinner with Randall. That was like the thing I was actually really sad about.
I know.
Like,
I think we should just fly to LA and do it.
And do a meeting, quote unquote, meeting.
Yes.
I'm into it.
We'll do like a live thing, and then also, but it's really to have dinner.
It's really to have dinner at Red Robin.
Yeah.
Which I think Randall would stop texting us at that point. Well, that was a fun story, and can't wait to check out this movie.
I also can't wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Did you ever read the comic?
No, I haven't.
It's really good.
I think I need to read the comic. I also, I have the script, so I was like, I should just read the script.
Especially as someone who is from the Bay Area, it just really captures this whole really cool thing. Like, when Shortcomings came out as a like a graphic novel, I would read it, and it would be it was just like so like texture perfect with Bay Area stuff. So it was really cool. So anyways, it'll be, I'm sure, a great movie. Definitely check out my girl Jenny in it.
My romper. Well, just know that when it comes out, I will go see it. I will take a picture and try to screenshot or whatever that moment to see if I can see like myself in it.
Yeah, of course you will.
Yeah, that's like the first. I mean, like that's the first thing I'll do.
I always think about how when I watch like TV shows, I've been watching a lot of Walker, Texas Ranger.
Okay.
Because it comes on like at 4, and I'm like hanging out with my son, and I always think about like all these extra, like these actors who have like these small roles.
Yeah.
I'm just like, not even the main guy that Walker, Texas Ranger is going to beat up. It's like the guy's henchman, who has like 5 lines.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I wonder if that actor is like proud of this. And then I was thinking about it, I was like, this would be such a big deal.
Totally.
Honestly, if this would be really a big deal.
After doing my gig, I now, and I saw all those people like in that room, like getting ready to do these scenes and then watching them actually do it, I was like, now I notice how many extras it takes to make everything look real.
Yeah.
The number of people who took like the time out of their day to make this like
one thing
lecture hall look like a lecture.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just like noting how much work goes into this.
It really is cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, definitely check out
Shortcomings when it comes out.
with starring Jenny
Starring
Arimoto.
me. Yeah, you're gonna see. My romper is gonna blow you away.
All right, let's close out the podcast. We just close it out just in case we need to. That's the show. It's been actually, this wasn't that short.
It was pretty long.
It's been a little while, and you can hear my son. He's getting upset, so that's why we're cutting it off.
That's where we wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Please come and check out our Hack City stand-up shows. There's actually going to be 2. There's one September 8th, believe that's a Thursday, in LA. There's one on September 9th. That's in New York City. So bi-coastal, biatch. Tickets are going to be available on Eventbrite, and you can check out the link in the episode description. Otherwise, follow us on Instagram at Asian.AsianPod, and you can follow me, Mike Nguyen, at Nice Pants Bro.
And you can follow me at Jenny Arimoto.
And yes, any other... I hope this episode wasn't mid.
I know. Well, we had fun. It might be mid, but we had fun.
We had fun.
Yeah.
Now it's time for me to check out my son. And until then, everybody, we love you.
Bye.
Bye.